let's go now to the real thing.
Let's get to, I mean, this is for people who haven't seen, who are watching with us for the first time. I'm sure there is about one of them. This is a great example of journalistic integrity and human curiosity, leading humanity to new pathways, new arenas of knowledge, of excitement, of all that. I mean, it's just unbelievable. I was I loved it. I don't know what you thought before.
Yeah, no, it's so much fun. It's so good. And you know, it was extra satisfying because Ken Klippenstein got to talk back too, and they were talking, so it was fun. Now, I mean, I wouldn't go as far as people go in the comment section, making it seem like Saagar was standing up to like the Roman Empire by himself, like without like anything, not even without a shield or nothing. Like the way they praise Saagar.
So Saint George Saagar over there.
But they were right though that he asked whatever questions he wanted and he was allowed to talk back. So it was fun.
It was fun. I mean, Ken Klippenstein, by the way, I dislike quite a lot his work generally. I mean, I don't know him, but in this interview, he came across, I think, as very bad as well. Really? I think everybody. Okay. I think everybody came across as terrible in this video. So yeah, I think the dynamic, just before we watch, is Saagar is the curious child. Ken Klippenstein is the bully, sort of that bullied him when the mom was not home. And now Crystal is home, mom is home, and she's trying to balance. Okay, I know what Saagar is curious. Okay, he wants to know about spirits and aliens. I meant aliens, not a spirit. Yes, alien. And Ken, you need to stop being so mean.
Too funny. All right, let's watch this.
Accusations are flying as journalist Ken Klippenstein has published a new report for The Intercept saying UFO whistleblower Dave Grusch, who recently testified before the House Oversight Committee, was at one point referred to a mental health institution following 2 911 calls from his wife in what Grusch says is a PTSD-related alcoholic incident. Grusch and his associates initially accused the intelligence community of leaking non-public health records to Klippenstein, who has since revealed he in fact retained access to this information by Freedom of Information Act requests. Resulting dramas got both sides. They're accusing the other of not telling the truth to the public about the situation. So we've got Ken Klippenstein himself in the studio now. Join us defending his story. It's good to see you, Ken. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for coming in, Ken.
Great to be back with you guys. All right, Ken. So let's get into the...
Caught me off guard there.
Just before watching the video, I wanted to say, look at Ken's face. Definitely did not see the backlash coming. I think just go a bit behind. He's just the whole interview, not just here, but the whole interview. He's put on this baby face. I didn't do anything wrong. I did a FOIA request, and it turned out he's crazy. He's mentally challenged. So I mean, he's just doing the whole interview. I don't think he saw the backlash. He's so like, he's intelligence services. I don't like him. I just wanted to know more about his personal life. So fun.
It's good to see you, Ken. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for coming in, Ken.
Great to be back with you guys. All right, Ken. So let's get into the nitty-gritty, I guess, of the story itself. Let's start broad strokes. What is the story about? What is it?
Well, so he's kind of the star witness of the subcommittee that's looking at the UFO allegations. Not just him, but there are 2 pilots as well. And so in the reporting on it, I noticed a phrase popping up again and again: a decorated war hero, decorated war hero, decorated war hero. And I'm not disputing that he is. But when I hear that, it's kind of like, okay, well, where's the critique? Like, where's the negative side, or where's the vetting? And I didn't see any of that by any of the media. So I thought, well, I'm going to go and look and see what I can find. And so I know people both in DOD, in the intelligence community, and I did a call for tips to try to broaden the picture. It really just came from a mosaic of different sources that gave me ideas of what was going on. We can talk about that more. But really my motive was just, it didn't feel like anybody was vetting this guy.
So lay out the specifics of the story and what you found through your FOIA request.
So under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, you can request police records called detail records, CADs, obscure things that aren't kind of like the typical police report that journalists tend to ask for. And maybe that's how they didn't know it existed. I have some practice with FOIA. I've been doing this a long time. So when I got these back, it was 2 different incidents reported by his wife and previous wife, in which he had gone, in the second case that was in 2018, I think, he had gone into it's described as like an angry, drunken rage where he was suicidal, asked his wife to kill him. She called police, said that the guns were locked up, and then he was placed in a mental facility where after he was assessed and then released, I think, a day later.
Got it. And this happened 2014.
Yeah, first when they said he said that he had suicidal thoughts or something like that, I was like, yeah, everybody at some point they get drunk or something, they say something. Then they are like, yeah, there were 2 incidents with 2 different wives, it seems. And he was like, yeah, this is getting, you know.
And again,
not exactly
they're not unique, and they're nothing to be ashamed of. And a lot of people have these problems, nothing to be made fun of, nothing to mock about. And that's whatsoever. What is PTSD as well, which we get into. And that's like half of the comments, and people are just like, oh, you're PTSD shaming and all this. No, of course. But the fact that his mental state is relevant to this story, I don't see how that's up for dispute. But
yeah, for sure. Especially like somebody who was in the military. And I mean, to be honest, I do think a lot of people do exaggerate their PTSD claims too.
I mean,
and
it's a different topic. I don't know. I mean,
that's a different
generalization, but sure. And yeah, what do you mean? But yeah.
I mean, we don't know. That's the thing. But it definitely, we know there are due to PTSD or alcohol or whatever.
Or just anything, yeah, whatever, yeah.
Yeah, and this is, by the way, not like 2 decades ago. This is right before, like 2 years before 2019, I believe. They specify later.
18 was the second time.
Was the second time?
Yeah, so 4 years.
This is like 4 years before, 5 years before he comes out with the, you know, this is like somebody suddenly had a mental breakdown and then they became a born-again Christian. Yeah, I think there may be a connection there. I mean, I'm just saying, you know, not that necessarily is, but could be.
2018.
Both. Yeah.
Okay. So there's been a lot of back and forth. Grusch accused you of getting these things leaked by the intelligence community. You revealed it came from the Freedom of Information Act. You did a Twitter space last night. You indicated you were tipped off by this. So were you tipped off by members of the intelligence community?
It was both the Defense Department. I mean, again, it's a mosaic. You talk to as many people as you can because you don't want to be dependent on any one individual who might have a grudge or whatever it is.
Tipped off.
But yes, I did talk to both DOD people and intelligence.
So in terms of the substance of the tip here, the accusation, I mean, aren't they fundamentally correct that like you are publishing dirt that was tipped to you by intelligence community?
Well, the thing is, when I put out my call for tips, I said, if you have anything positive or negative, because at the end of the day, like, I don't want to, you know, he's a human being. I don't, to be candid with you guys so people can account for where I'm coming from, I don't believe in the...
Man, this is like, reminds me, like, just my drift to the right is getting really extreme because sorry, when you covered Epstein, what was that? Can somebody tell me what was, you know what, it's just like they're on politicians.
And they're doing the kind of childish blanket thing of like, oh, everything mainstream media says 100% is wrong. Everything official says is always like 100% wrong. They're taking, a lot of people are taking this kind of approach to the story, you know, and again, it's not like this one thing that he followed up and looked into is going to make and break the whole either David Grusch's story or, you know, the whole aliens and UFOs, but to claim, as they're really going to get into, that this is so irrelevant and like as if, you know, he just published a video of him doing laundry or something on the intercept is just that's what I found really funny.
I guess.
The UFO stuff, I think he's incorrect about it. However, I don't want to just punch at him. I would have included anything positive that I had gotten. Unfortunately, I didn't get anything. Now, that doesn't mean that he doesn't have, you know, redeeming qualities. Everybody does, even me. But I just didn't happen to hear any of that. And so I had to go with what, you know, I was told. And to give you guys a sense, too, I can speak to the characteristics of the sources because I understand why people are concerned about that because most of the reporting that you read is planted. When you go to the New York Times, most of those stories are planted by committee chairs, by the White House, whatever it is. That's not how I roll. I know I tend to talk to mid-level people, people kind of like Grusch, GS-14s, GS-15s, people who are experienced but didn't quite have the political chops generally to make it to the top. So those are the types of people that I was talking to. Just full disclosure, if you want to ask anything else about sourcing, I'm happy to talk about that.
Yeah, so I mean, basically, you're being accused of like, this is a smear job. You're trying to undermine his credibility. What did you see as the value of this information? Do you think that the fact that he has a PTSD diagnosis makes him...
If this wasn't his friend, Saagar would have attacked him here.
Yeah.
Not attack him, do something worse, like throw acid at his face or something. like seriously, look, he's about to...
It's like, motherfucker, look at those fists. Look at his fists.
I've never seen him this intense. He's gonna throw his coffee at his face, I swear.
That was so... Yes, I'd give King Klippenstein a bit of, like, you know, just leeway, because I would freak out as he's like drinking water like crazy.
He has 2 mugs for some reason.
Somebody told me, I had no idea. I talked to mid-level people. I swear to God. So yeah, he's about to bring out the chains, and then I love how Crystal is like, look, Ken, they're basically calling you a deep state lizard. What do you say to that? They basically say that you work with the deep state lizards that fuck children, and you're now one of them, and we should burn you in our studio. What do you say to that? And Ken is, they just told me. I just asked. It was a completely organic event. Nobody told me to look into this. Hilarious. This is
good. A bit
more likely to lie, make things up, and less credible in general.
No, absolutely not PTSD. But, you know, in the police reports, his wife called him an alcoholic and said that this happened repeatedly. That, I think, is a concern. I think that if someone's an alcoholic, yeah, that should be factored into your assessment of what their credibility is. But
but if it's alcohol related to PTSD, I mean, let's be serious here. I mean, he in sworn testimony, he admits he had a problem with PTSD. He says it was, I mean, I'm assuming he's related to these alcoholic incidents. He got treatment per your own reporting. And all of the incidents he's now testified to, sworn testimony as well as a whistleblower's post treatment. So I'm just trying to understand, like, what is the value of this information being put forward? And to be clear, you didn't do anything wrong. You're doing your job. We get crazy.
So he just put the case in forward himself. He's like, so yeah, this guy, you know, has PTSD, alcoholism, but, you know, then he got the treatment. So, I mean, that's case closed. I mean, it's as if that doesn't exist. It erased it. It doesn't mean that, okay, he got a bit better or he was able to cut. No, he got the treatment. So... why the fuck did you bring that up? Don't ever talk about my mom that way, okay?
It reminds me exactly of their favorite authors' excuse. Epstein, Chomsky, sorry, when it turned out he was, I had dinner with, you know, he was a convicted sex offender, but he had gone to prison for about half an hour, I believe, and he had served his time.
And so, people knew about it, so it was out there. So, yeah, you're right. So yeah.
Live in a country, you do your time, you come out, I have dinner with you.
Too funny.
But man, I mean, play it next 30 seconds, and Saagar does that another time.
Yeah, this is
the part he's doing right now. Play another next 30 seconds, then stop. The part is like telling Ken that he's completely okay with this.
Crazy tips from people all the time here. So I have no issue with the Freedom of Information Act, even if you did report it, even if you did get a tip from the intel community. I guess it comes down to like the framing and the substance of like, what are we supposed to do with this information?
Was bullshit.
Well, I included in the story an example of the dozens of White House staffers who had their clearances revoked for smoking weed, including in states where it was legal.
Right.
Places where it's legal. So like this is part of the clearance process. And so again, this whole focus on PTSD, and if it makes him not credible, that was never something I said. That was a focus that he made trying to get ahead of the story in the statement that he put out. My interest was always the alcoholism. And I mean, I guess I feel as though there's some kind of grandstanding around this stuff, because the reality is if you're going to say, get a medical procedure, go see a surgeon, you find out he's an alcoholic, it's probably going to factor in your deciding somewhat, right?
Right. Well, I mean, is he an active alcoholic? Do you know that?
We know that from the reports his wife said he was.
That?
Okay, in 2018.
Yes.
But we don't know anything since then.
No.
Right.
So can you...
It doesn't
I don't know how he thinks the mind or body or these kind of things.
No, I love the
like
fact
work.
that no. Did you? This was the most sort of mob bossy sort of interview he's ever done. So let me, in the beginning, just say that I'm completely fine with this. I have no problem with Freedom of Information Act and stuff, and
You
I
having a
love it. I love the
computer.
fact that you looked into my past and looked into the wrong things. But go ahead. So how'd you know that? He doesn't let him finish any sentence. So what? Is that how you got it? Is that how you got it? Okay. All right. It's just he's yeah. This is where I think Crystal calms him down a bit. Yeah. So I just wanted to point out the mob boss.
That was too funny. Going
Don't
over
mess
how
with
he's
Saagar,
okay
man.
with the 101 of journalism. So I'm okay with you, writing and
Right.
getting information and all that.
And being allowed to breathe following that writing is also surprising, but as it seems to be allowed. There was a time you would find a brick on your chest at the bottom of a river, but now you're allowed to talk about this. So, yeah.
Can you speak a little bit too, because part of the piece you talk about how, in those instances you had White House staffers fired, that there is this, very onerous procedure to get and maintain your security clearances.
Yes.
In this instance, they knew about these police interactions and what had happened with regard to his wife at the time. They knew about the allegations of alcohol abuse, all of this stuff, and yet he was able to maintain his clearances. Do you read something nefarious into that? Or is that an indication in his direction that, listen, they knew everything and they still thought that I was trustworthy enough to maintain these very high-level secret clearances?
That's what he said, and I think there's something to that, but there's also something of a boys' club. I don't mean in a gender way. I mean in like a...
Okay, and nobody said because of his alcoholism he shouldn't be allowed to leave the house anymore or something. They're like, okay, they allowed him to go to the grocery store, right? Yeah, so therefore everything is okay.
Senior level people tend to look
no, but she was asking a question though. She was saying that he's saying that I was so trustworthy, even though I was completely mental. They're like, it's okay, you need to know this. Come on in. You are such an expert. Come on. We need to talk about the green guy. Come in. Even though I was a mental case. I needed to. So yeah, that's I guess.
And I think one of the other girls highlighted that in the other video, in the Rising video. She's like, a lot of people in US government and military have these issues. So fair enough. Maybe if you use that criteria, you would really not have too many people to work with.
People man, most people I would say have some kind of a mental issue. Yeah. But most
Plus
people don't claim to have seen to have heard people credibly talk about UFOs,
and aliens, right? I mistakenly said that he didn't claim aliens, but he did claim aliens. That's the other journalist who said, oh no, I don't know about aliens. But David Grusch actually says that he's heard, people have told him that they've seen UFOs plus actual alien pilots, right?
No, like he said, he implied the pilot part.
That there was a pilot.
Vehicles were retrieved, but where there, and he said, where there is a vehicle, there is a driver. Like kind of the sort of where there is a smoke, there is a fire. I don't. But
for each other, I quoted someone as saying that, and that was the general frustration of multiple people that I talked to, was feeling like they described this guy as unreliable, and they were frustrated that this stuff that they knew about was not being accounted for, and they were seeing the descriptions I was describing before. Decorated hero. Right. They didn't feel like that was the whole story.
I guess what I'm confused by is you're telling me this, but you don't quote any of these people in the story. The only facts that you can really attest to in the story are FOIA, and obviously the tip. And again,
a very nice story,
but don't you think that's the actual relevant part? I mean, why aren't you quoting people on background, people who work for him who said he's unreliable? You're saying it here. I think that's fine. I mean, obviously,
sure,
it's a public forum, but the way that it's being read, I have to be honest with you.
Luckily, you can't kill these days anymore.
It does kind of read as a smear job. You're basically like, he had a PTSD incident, or he says PTSD incident. He had 2 alcoholics. You quote 2 people who basically say, he's full of it. You only quote 1 expert who says that the UFO hearing is a travesty. And I mean, one of the things I really don't understand is how many conversations we had about Pentagon spinning us, but you're credulously citing the explanation, the 1990s explanation on Roswell. and credulously quoting like Susan Go, who's the Pentagon spokesperson, who said that he's full of it. I mean, why should we believe these people? Do you understand what I'm saying? The assemblage of the facts in your story, yes, taking it as like, this guy's alive.
I think that's a good instinct. You don't want to side with the institutions, but I think you also don't want to reflexively oppose them. I'm not saying that you're doing that. I think that, you know, I have that tendency too.
So many backhand compliments. Sorry, you know, not backhand compliments, but yeah.
The way he was questioning him, it was just like it reminded me of when, you know, the bullies used to have the victim on the ground and use his own hands to hit. Why are you hitting yourself? Why are you hitting yourself? Like, it was so, yeah, you know, I mean, it's completely fine to write about this, but then you write this bullshit and then you write this nonsense added to that bullshit. I mean, Crystal, can I fuck him up? Can I please, Crystal? Can I fuck him up?
But fine, if Saagar wants to say, oh, you know, how do we know these other people are not talking bullshit? Sure, fair enough. If that was his only critique, sure. But his main thing is, you know, why didn't you draw UFOs all over your Intercept article? And I love UFOs. That's because he has such a position on this story. You know, it's almost like sect-like his belief in this. He's like, okay, if you don't overall believe the UFO thing and care for it the way I do, then you're wrong.
Yeah, but no. He in this case though, he's saying that you are being extremely one-sided towards David Grusch. That's his main thing. That's his
fair enough,
stuff. But I love how. So on the substance of the thing, I have a theory though. I think, to be honest, based on the information we know so far, this guy had a mental breakdown, and then, you know, he seems like an attention seeker type guys. And then I think after his mental breakdown, it happens to, like, he thought this is a quick way to money, or like he became crazy and and I'm sure, to be honest, there are lots of people in the military talking about UFOs, but, you know, maybe it wasn't in his security level to know the UFO was like a Chinese balloon or some shit. I don't know. Yeah. So I'm just saying that's probably his case. But now I think there are definitely people in the intelligence that are feeling embarrassed and just like they're like, oh, our community has become a laughing stock because like one of us is just going around talking about interdimensional beings. So they probably contacted this loser to like, yeah, maybe you could do it, you know, he's not very, you know, they say decorated. They don't say decorated with what?
He peed in the sink, like Brendan Shaw.
Yeah, exactly. He's peed in the sink. You know, maybe you can talk to his PA, perhaps. But, so I think that's probably what's happening. I don't know. What's your theory?
Yeah, very much so. Very much so, possibly. Could be. Yeah. I mean, it is true. I mean, yeah, in the sense that I guess mainstream media is laughing also. They're not really laughing at the intelligence community. Maybe more this guy. Yeah.
Man, I feel like mainstream, to be honest, I mean, Saagar and all these people are mainstream media, blah, blah, blah. But as far as I can see, they completely embrace this bullshit.
Oh, yeah, I'm just taking their word, actually. I don't even know.
Yeah. From what they're lying. They're lying. I swear to God. It's like mainstream is a bit more balanced than this bullshit Saagar has going on of, you know, they are definitely real. We just don't know if they're green or, you know, gray.
That's the only thing.
We have not really confirmed the skin color yet. But
again, these are not monoliths. The DOD, I'm not talking to the public affairs officer, I'm not talking to the senior executives. I generally try to go out and get a sense of like the mid-level kind of like rank and file people.
You're using the mid-level as if they're working class.
I agree with you. I think
you're doing the right thing. Like,
and you always, and I've always, the local shop, but I'm like, why aren't any of these people quoted then? Why aren't you quoting these people?
Well, essentially, the reason that I did the FOIA was because they're kind of describing it as unreliable. I'm thinking, well, do I want to just use this sort of innuendo? Or can I try to substantiate it? And if you look,
so here Saagar's asking why he went for actual documents.
Honest story. You talk to the politicals, and it's just.
I agree with you. I think you're doing the right thing. And you always, and I've always, you know, I've stood by a lot of your work, but I'm like, why aren't any of these people quoted then? Why aren't you quoting these people?
Well, essentially, the reason that I did the FOIA was because they're kind of describing it as unreliable. And I'm thinking, well, do I want to just use this sort of innuendo? Like, can I try to substantiate it? And if you look at the FOIA request, you can FOIA my FOIA, I think I posted it too.
You did.
I asked for a whole range of things. So this idea that I was being pointed at one specific event, that's just not true. People were describing things to me. It sounds like there's certain themes. I go on Nexus, which journalists have, and so you can find their home address. The home address was not furnished to me, and then you can just file a FOIA, and I did it for like 7 years. And so that was what came back. So there's no sort of like, so I guess.
But anyway, if you look into someone's record and medical and police record, right, only bad stuff are going to show up, of course. I mean, there's not like, okay, he behaved very well from this year. Like, you're not going to come across that, right? Like the good stuff, you always know because it's either in the person's status at the military or you literally do though in the military and all that. Like, right, you get this, you have your degree and all that, sure. But if you go look, you're not going to find good stuff. He was a very good boy from the age of 8 to 12.
Look, he had 3 decades of being very nice. Then he murdered 5 people. Then we had another decade of being very nice. This is not like your life is not something you can
He did not check in for rehab from 1960 to 2000.
See, for the first two decades of his life, he did not do anything wrong. No major crimes.
So yeah, so I mean, I don't even. So this part of the conversation is a bit funny. I mean, he's never gonna find good stuff by looking.
No, man. But that the part you were I mean, these guys. The part he's talking about the mid-level management. He's talking about, I didn't talk to the top guys. He wasn't. He thinks like, because they think deep state is just basically 4 people, and they probably think they're Jewish as well or something, like in a room or something. He keeps saying, yeah, I just talk to mid-level people because mid-level CIA is much better than the top CIA. I mean, it's famously in these organizations, most of the power is in the mid as well. But anyways, putting that aside, it shows their type of thinking of American left, and generally West left. It's like Matt Stoller, another fucking contributor that comes on Breaking Point all time. That the small businessman versus Amazon versus Google, because the small businessman is much better than the Google and the Amazon. I take Google and Amazon over most fucking small business people, by the way. They're much more prejudiced, much more reactionary. But and then it reminded me of what they say about all the Marvel superhero movies, or like the philosophy of Marvel movies is basically we want the bad guys, but we want the bad guys to have a better HR department. And it seems to me that literally that is their philosophy. That's just, we just want the mid-level management to be a bit better off. The workers.
Yeah, that's just like a strange thing he keeps on bringing up.
That's my answer to your question. I'm not trying to be evasive. Like, I did talk to intelligence and DOD people, but the way in which that influences the reporting is a little bit more subtle than I think that the discourse gives credit to. It's not like they're pointing you at one specific thing, they give you a sense, and then you use that to go and use other methods to try to substantiate it.
I don't want to belabor the point, but just so I'm clear in my head of kind of the timeline, you were seeing the coverage of this hearing.
Yes.
You took issue with the fact that, a lot
of.
Okay, I don't know if there's much more.
She just I love that. She
pissed me off there. Like, okay, so you woke up, you peed, you turned on the TV. Walk me through your day.
She was negotiating between she was saying, listen, look, Saagar, tell him again. So he woke up, he gave the F4, then he contacted the generals, not generals, sorry, mid-level. Not generals, mid-level, working class CIA agents about the spirits. Not the spirits, sorry, aliens. Saagar. Don't get angry, Saagar. So stop fighting and let's go back to presenting the petty bourgeoisie. Okay. So,
and then here's funny. Here's some of the comments I'm referring to. I've never seen some journalists holding other journalists accountable like this. I thought this was phenomenally respectful. God. This is peak breaking points. Thanks for holding people accountable. This is a master class of journalism by Saagar. I mean, he didn't do journalism. I mean, if you want to say that was a master class of an interview, sure. but like, I mean, you know, he did an interview. I guess maybe
he looked into the over 2 tweets he read fully, and one
this
article.
felt like real journalism.
It felt like that sounds right.
And some are saying
like,
that, yeah, that's actually good. So he was an alcoholic when he came out. That's positive, my good.
It's the confirmation bias they call it. But this is to an extent the work of algorithm, man. Fucking the people complain so much about negative comments that just algorithm, you know, either deletes them or, you know, or doesn't put them up. So there is that. No, I'm not saying it's just that. There is obviously people who like breaking points, watch breaking points mostly. There are some masochists like us.
I'm kind of scared of the UFO mob. I'm glad it's only an online phenomenon. Have yet to see it in real life because there seems to be a lot of them. Get outnumbered.
Man, it's with a lot of things, UFO, transgenderism and stuff. I'm genuinely starting to appreciate the religious mob because at least I know these people. We like you know, we appreciate like there's traditions, their craziness. These new crazies, they don't have any structure.
But at least they're much more
customs.
But they're also more limited to the online world. Or do you think they're out there? I don't know.
I think they're growing. That's the thing. They're a growing trend. You don't want to add to the crazies you have, do you? Like we have the religious things and all that, and we managed to deal, like we've established a system around it and all that. Okay, now adding these new things, I'm just saying, you know, you don't want to add to that, but you're right, they are,
but they're harmless. I mean, the UFO ones have always existed, but this is my first interaction with to this extent UFO community on YouTube,
being accepted,
because I mean, of course, for a lot of people are into UFOs. Yeah, and that too. But
yeah, sure. No, I've never.
I think it's been a long time. It's been accepted, like more or less in that sense. I don't know. And there's also a controversial story because it doesn't hurt anyone. I mean, it's a really good story if you ask me. If I was in U.S. government, but I mean, that's my interpretation, I guess.
What do you mean? I felt you were U.S. government, it would be a good story.
I mean, if this is the thing that everybody would be digging in or looking into, I'm like, yeah, sure. I mean,
what if you
don't bring up the economy and so just
no, what if you were on a payroll by the aliens to transport children to Mexico and from Mexico to their planet? Like, you don't think about this.
That's
this
true.
Is the type of thing people are thinking.
But
this is the type of thing deep state is involved in. All right.